Okay, so let's picture this. Rural Odisha. Those amazing sun-drenched paddy fields, the really vibrant colors outside homes, that sort of lively buzz in the villages.
Yeah, I can picture it, brimming with life.
Totally. But, for way too long, a really significant group of people there, folks living with disabilities, they've hit these unnecessary walls, especially when it comes to just earning a living.
It's like pieces missing from the
Yeah.
picture, right? That really underlines why what we're talking about today is so important. It's not just some policy update.
Right, exactly.
It's about fixing this deep-seated exclusion that's affected so many people in rural Odisha.
Right. But here's the exciting part. The story's really changing. The Odisha government, they've set this incredibly ambitious target.
Oh, yeah.
They want every single eligible person with a disability included in the Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme, MGNREGS, by May 31st, 2025.
Wow, May 2025. That's a serious deadline.
It really is. Think about the potential impact. It could genuinely transform lives.
And just quickly, for anyone maybe not totally up to speed on MGNREGS, it's basically this huge national program, a safety net for rural India.
Right.
It guarantees 100 days of paid manual work per year to households that need it. We're talking essential stuff. Digging canals, planting trees, building those village roads, really fundamental work.
Absolutely fundamental. It's the economic backbone for so many, especially like in drought-prone areas you hear about, Kalahandi, Belangir.
Definitely. For loads of families, it's not just a job, it's a lifeline. Keeps food on the table.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's dive in properly. Our mission today really is to get under the hood of this whole thing, understand why it matters so much, what Odisha is actually planning to do, and, well, what roadblocks they might hit trying to make this happen.
Sounds good. And to really get why this is such a big deal, we kind of need to look back a bit, historically.
Yeah.
Well, people with disabilities have faced massive hurdles getting into MGNREGS or any similar rural job schemes, really.
And it wasn't just physical barriers, right? Although I'm sure that's a big part of it.
Oh, for sure. Accessibility is key. But it's also been about awareness. People with disabilities maybe not knowing they could even be eligible, or the system itself not being geared up to include them. Bureaucratic tangles, too.
And the numbers quite stark, aren't they? The 2011 census showed, over 1.24 million people with disabilities in Odisha?
That's right. And a big chunk of those, around 569,000, are women. These are often the folks most vulnerable to poverty, maybe more dependent on family.
Yeah, and it goes beyond just the money, doesn't it? It's about dignity. Being denied the chance to work, to contribute, that hits hard.
Absolutely. Work isn't just about income. It's purpose, it's belonging, it's self-respect. This whole initiative, fundamentally, it's trying to shift the focus away from perceived inability towards recognizing the potential, the skills people have.
Empowering people, making them active players in their own communities.
Precisely. Active participants. Okay, so the need is crystal clear. Let's get into the specifics. How is the Odisha government actually planning to pull this off by May 2025? Sounds like they have concrete steps.
Yeah, what's the roadmap?
Well, the Panchayati Raj and Drinking Water Department, that's the local governance guys right down at the village level, so they're crucial here.
Right, the grassroots level.
Exactly. They've laid out a pretty proactive strategy. One big piece is what they're calling an identification blitz.
A blitz. Sounds intense.
It kind of is. They're sending out volunteers door to door in rural areas, actively looking for eligible people with disabilities who could join MGNREGS. It's a direct effort to find those who might otherwise just fall through the cracks.
That seems vital, actually going to people instead of waiting for them to navigate the system.
Yeah.
Smart. What else?
Then there are these tailored job cards. Basically, new MGNREGS cards specifically for adults with disabilities 18 plus.
Tailored. Okay.
And interestingly, they've also thought about spouses where both have disabilities. They can get a shared card.
Oh, that's really thoughtful. A practical touch. You can see how that simplifies things for some families.
Yeah, it shows they're thinking about the real world situations.
And I read something about Divyang Shakti Groups. What's the story there?
All right, Divyang Shakti, it means something like empowered disability. These are village level self-help groups. Small groups, maybe 2 to 20 people with disabilities.
Okay.
And the idea is they work together on MGNREGS projects. This is quite clever, I think. It's not just individual work, it's fostering teamwork, community.
Ah, I see. So it combats potential isolation too, builds a support network.
Exactly. Peer support, shared problem solving, building confidence together. It moves beyond just participation to, like, collective agency.
Mhm.
Very powerful potential there.
That is brilliant. Okay, so they're finding the people, getting them cards, encouraging group work. What about the actual jobs? That must need careful thought.
Definitely. The guidelines stress suitable work assignments. It's about finding tasks that are manageable but also meaningful, considering all the different abilities people have.
So not just token tasks, real contributions.
Yeah, things like planting trees, maybe watering saplings, filling sandbags, tasks that fit different physical capabilities. And it's not just the task itself, it's also about, adapting the training, providing the right tools, perhaps.
Right. Maybe adapted tools for someone with limited mobility but good upper body strength, that kind of thing.
Precisely that. Finding roles where people can genuinely contribute safely and effectively, moving away from that one-size-fits-all idea of rural work.
Makes sense. And who makes sure this actually happens on the ground?
That responsibility falls to the district authorities. The collectors, the block development officers, BDOs, the gram panchayats, the village councils. They have to create and implement these local plans to get everyone enrolled and working by the deadline.
Okay, so it's a top-down goal but needs bottom-up action. Coordinated effort. Stepping back a bit then, why is this whole thing so significant? Beyond the individual dignity aspect, what's the broader impact?
We'll think bigger picture. MGNRGS itself is already huge for strengthening rural India, right? Reducing that desperate migration to cities we often see.
Yeah, it keeps money flowing locally.
And Odisha actually has a pretty good track record with MGNRGS already. They've sometimes gone beyond the standard 100 days in really distressed areas, paid slightly better wages than some other places.
Ah, yes, I remember reading that,
Yeah.
especially in places like Balangir, Nopada. They've offered more work days during tough times.
Exactly. So this push for including people with disabilities feels like a natural next step for them. It fits their inclusive approach.
It's about making sure everyone shares in the benefits of this major scheme.
Precisely. And economically, think about it, less reliance on just welfare payments, maybe? People with disabilities contributing directly to the local economy, boosting productivity. It's a win-win.
And didn't Sambalpur district show some promise already back in, what, 2018-19?
Yes, that's a great example. Sambalpur saw a really noticeable jump in participation by people with disabilities in MGNRGS back then.
So it shows it can be done.
It really does. When they made a deliberate effort to be inclusive and accessible, people responded. It proves the potential is there.
That's really encouraging. Okay, but let's be realistic. An initiative this big,
Yeah.
with that deadline, there must be challenges. What hurdles do you see Odisha facing?
Oh, definitely challenges. A big one is just awareness gap. Even with the Blitz, making sure everyone eligible and their families know about the scheme, understand the benefits, how to apply. That takes sustained effort.
Especially in remote areas, I imagine, getting the word out everywhere.
Exactly. Information barriers are real. Then there are the accessibility issues at the actual work sites.
Right. MGNRGS work is often outdoors, physical, maybe not easy for someone with mobility issues.
Yeah, making sites genuinely disability-friendly ramps, accessible tools, just safe conditions that needs real planning and, frankly, investment.
Yeah.
Adapting old sites, designing new ones properly.
That makes total sense. And bureaucracy, always a potential sticking point.
Bureaucratic inertia, yeah. You need smooth processes for the job cards. Payments need to be on time. There needs to be a way to handle complaints quickly. Any holdups could put people off.
Keep the momentum going. Build trust.
Absolutely. And then there's the social side, social stigma. Still perceptions out there about disability and work. Changing those attitudes, fostering an environment where everyone's seen as a valuable contributor, that's a huge ongoing task.
That might be the toughest part sometimes, shifting those deep-seated views.
It often is. Community engagement, awareness campaigns are vital there. And finally, maybe a resource crunch.
Money and people.
Yeah. Enough funding, enough trained staff and volunteers who are sensitive to people's needs and can offer the right support across the whole state. That's critical.
So awareness, accessibility, bureaucracy, stigma, resources. Quite a list.
It is. But remember that Sambalpur example and Odisha's track record. They've tackled MGNREGS challenges before, like extending work days or raising wages. So while these hurdles are real, they're not necessarily impossible to overcome.
Okay, let's try and bring this home. Can we paint a picture? Maybe think about a couple of individuals, how this could change things for them on the ground.
Sure. Imagine Ramesh. He's from Kalahandi, lost a leg in an accident. Finding steady work has been really tough.
Right.
With this MGNREGS inclusion, maybe he gets involved in land leveling or tree planting, something he can manage. Suddenly he's got a reliable income again, that sense of purpose he's maybe lost.
That's powerful. Not just money, but agency. Okay, give me another one.
How about Sunita, from Sambalpur perhaps? She's visually impaired. In her village, job options before probably close to zero.
Yeah, sadly realistic.
But through MGNREGS, maybe she could help with watering plants or managing the village drinking water point. Tasks where her other abilities shine. She gets to contribute, show what she can do.
Highlighting different skills for different roles. Great. One more.
Okay, Pradeep from Nuapada. He has a hearing impairment, maybe working in one of those Divyang Shakti groups.
The self-help groups, yeah.
Working together on building a road, planting an orchard, teamwork is key. Communication can happen visually with peer support. He finds belonging, purpose, contributing as part of a team.
Wow. Yeah, these aren't just abstract examples, are they? They represent potentially thousands of real stories waiting to happen across Odisha.
Exactly. It brings that human element right to the front. This isn't just policy talk. It's about changing lives, strengthening villages from the ground up.
Definitely. Okay, so looking outwards again, what kind of message does this send? Could Odisha's approach influence other states, do you think?
I think it absolutely could. Setting such a clear, ambitious deadline for including people with disabilities in MGNREGS that really positions Odisha as a potential leader here.
The leader in inclusive rural development.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen national MGNREGS wages go up recently, which is good, but Odisha is digging deeper, focusing on fundamental inclusion access to the work itself.
That's a key distinction.
It is. And for you listening, this is why state-level stuff like this matters. It can be a test case, a blueprint potentially. What works in Odisha, the lessons learned, could really shape how other states tackle similar issues.
So they're looking beyond just the economics to the equity side of things. Fair chance for everyone.
That's the core of it, and it ties into those bigger goals, reducing poverty, stopping that brain drain from rural areas, building communities that are actually sustainable and resilient for everyone.
Because inclusion strengthens the whole community, the whole economy.
Exactly. Diversity isn't a problem to be managed, it's a strength to be harnessed. Everyone's contribution counts.
That's a really powerful message to send. Okay, as we start to wrap up this deep dive, what are the main things you think people should take away from Odisha's ambitious plan?
Well, the headline is definitely Odisha's bold commitment. Full MGNREGS inclusion for eligible people with disabilities by May 31st, 2025. It's tackling that history of exclusion head-on, offering not just jobs, but dignity and purpose, too.
And the plan seems pretty comprehensive.
It does. Proactive identification, those tailored job cards, the Divyang Shakti Groups, suitable work assignments. It's well thought out. But we have to acknowledge the challenges.
Yeah.
Awareness, accessibility, bureaucracy, stigma, resources, they're significant.
But there's a reason for optimism based on their track record.
Absolutely. Odisha has shown it can make MGNREGS work better before, so while it's tough, it feels achievable.
Yeah, it's definitely a story with huge potential for positive change in rural Odisha. And it really makes you think, doesn't it, about how vital these kinds of inclusive initiatives are.
It really does. And maybe that leaves us with a final thought for you, listening. What if Odisha succeeds? What's the potential here to not just reshape its own rural communities, but to genuinely inspire similar action across India? Can we actually imagine a future where everyone, truly everyone, gets the chance to contribute and thrive in their own community, regardless of ability? That's a future worth aiming for, isn't it?